I am your host for this episode, what we are calling Ghosts and TITT Talks, Other Tales of the Supernatural. Ooh. The TITT can be here because it's 4 p.m. The sun is out. It's not spooky. And Tisha, I'm so glad to have you. I hope you stay for the whole thing. Although I
brought a comfort item too. I'm hanging on to something to make me feel a little safer.
Some people are open to the stories of the supernatural, stories of spirits. Some are not. And some even experience it even if they are not open to it. And that I think is kind of the scary thing, right? Like
what? Wait, that happens? Don't tell me that. I'm letting everyone know in all dimensions. I am not open. I am not open to it.
Four BFFs who grew from friends to fierce boss moms.
Join us as we shoot from the TITT as Asian American Pacific Islander women,
discovering modern hacks for both surviving and thriving in this ever-changing mama world.
Not quite TED Talks, but TITT Talks with your favorite girlfriends.
So, the definition of supernatural as a noun is manifestations or events considered to be of supernatural origin, which is kind of repetitive, but whatever, such as ghosts. I don't know where I just Googled that and I pulled that and I copied it and pasted it. So, that all makes sense to most people. And as an adjective, the definition is attributed to some force beyond scientific understanding or the laws of nature. So it's interesting because, between us four, some cultures really are down with the supernatural. It's just part of their daily life. I know that in the Thai culture, people just talk about ghosts and spirits like it's very a regular occurrence. Tilo, how about you?
Yeah.
Please tell us about the Chinese cultures and their belief in the supernatural.
I don't actually know much. I grew up like watching all those Chinese zombie movies. I don't know if Tisha did, where it's like they're like ghosts and they're like this and they're just like hopping around. And then what you do is you like the super thing to like deflect them was that you put this like piece of paper on their forehead and it had some kind of Chinese saying on it. Yeah, and then they stopped being zombies chasing you. But like
about the head. That's how you take out zombies too. You have to get them in the brain.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but I don't know much about like stories, historical.
Tila, question.
Yeah.
Do you remember there used to be this old theater on, I think it was on Valley, either Valley or Atlantic in Monterey Park. It was old theater. They tore down in like the mid or early 90s. Do you remember that old theater? So my mom, apparently, she told me this about 28 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I have never asked her since because I do not wish for her to clarify. I do not wish to hear the story, but it was the very first like sighting that my mom had of a ghost. She was in the bathroom. She was washing her hands. And when she looked up to the mirror, saw a head staring at her. And like, honestly, I can't tell you if it was my mom or my aunt at this point. It was just like the first ghost story that was ever told to me when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And like, ever since then, I was like, fuck this.
That's a scary one.
You just reminded me for the locals that grew up in the SGV though, the Rosemead area, right off the 10 freeway where there is now a UFC, it used to be a Toys R Us. And the people that live in that area all talk about supernatural things happening, like in that Toys R Us. Yeah, when it was open. It's now a UFC gym. But like all the houses around there also have some energy about them. But sorry, that was a long
UFC gym.
Probably now,
we
but
do like a one-day workout and just see if we feel anything.
Tisha would hate that.
But we'll all be there with her. We'll
You know what? I'd be open to that. I'd be open to something like, it's kind of like when you're on the Snow White ride in Disneyland. Like if I'm in the middle, I can tolerate it. Like let everybody else get the scares. Like
have them go first.
Yeah, I might be open to that if we all experience it together in a non-time.
Isa, sorry if I interrupted. But Isa, can you please tell us about the Chamorro culture and their relationship with the supernatural, if any?
we have a lot of legends. We have a lot of, legends in history that I feel like everybody, if you are Chamorro, then you believe in spirits and supernatural things. So we have a thing called Tatamona, and really it means the people before. So it really is our ancestors, and I looked it up, and like in pre-colonization Chamorro culture, they're actually there to help you, to guide you. You know, they're part of your family and they protect you. Um, in war, or, it was tribal. So they really were there for your family. And anytime someone passed, you would, they lived in huts, you would bury the skull of the person who had passed in your like rafters, or whatnot. And that is your like guiding spirit. But as colonization occurred, the Catholic religion made it more demonic to believe in these types of things. And I think now this is like the logical explanation that I got from Guampedia. Okay. But now it's more like we have to ask our ancestors for permission to go into like certain areas of the jungle. This is their land. We're kind of trespassing type of thing. But then also, because of the colonization aspect, they can cause harm to us now, and we think that they can cause harm to us now. And I have firsthand experience of, being bruised after being at a carnival when I was like young. And usually when you're bruised around your neck, or you get a pinch, and you get a bruise from that pinch, and you have no clue where it came from, it's like, that's a tatamona. Like, you probably did something to, annoy them, or make them frustrated at you. So that is something that we have. And then we also have something called the duendes. It's a legend. It's like little fairies or little children-like people that like to play with children. And so they kind of like play with your child. And, there have been stories of children disappearing for days, or even just, disappearing. And no one knowing what happened. And I have a cousin who said this happened to, and it was for loads of hours. Like, they were searching all day for my cousin, and she ended up just being, she felt, I guess when she was a child, she felt like she was only gone for maybe like 30 minutes, but she was gone like the whole day. And when she came back, she was saying like, oh, I was just playing with the children. I was just playing with the kids. And there were like no kids around, and they live close to the jungle. So those are called the duendes, and they're memory in a way, I guess the thought is. And I remember like my Nina, my godmother, like laying palm leaves around the boundary of her home so that I wouldn't, be
by duende.
Yeah, by duendes. And they actually, there's Mexican duendes too, so it's not like particular to Chamorro culture, so it's probably a colonization thing too. But I looked up some pictures and I didn't want to post them up because he chose.
I mean, you can post it. I'm sure.
I just Googled it. I don't like it.
And
Don't do it, Tita.
they say that when they lure children, they can shrink the children so their parents can't actually see them. They're there, but you can't see them. So
Ooh,
really interesting.
it's creepy.
Folklore. Those are only two things. There's a lot of other ones. But I have a really great story that I wanted to share. So you can tell me when it's a good time, but that's really related to my culture.
Oh, okay. So this is hypothesis time, right? Well, we just thought this episode would be very fun because most of us here at TITT Talks have had supernatural or supernatural adjacent experiences, and we thought it would be fun to share them with you today. And, in speaking with other friends who are not TITTs, it's very interesting to see how people kind of open up, and they'll jump in and say, I've had these kind of crazy experiences too. And I love hearing about them because they're all so different, and they all just, they leave you feeling a little bit electrified, right? Like the hairs on your arms, which you don't have a lot of hair on our arms, but the ones that are there, they like stand up, right? Woo. Also, some people tend to associate the supernatural with scary, the word scary, which makes sense because because of how the ghosts and the supernatural are portrayed in movies. Like I don't like watching stories about ghosts and spirits. That's especially me. But it's also scary because it's the unknown, right? It can't be explained by science. So people like us, women like us, we're so used to having a very set day, control over most things in our life. So experiencing a supernatural event is, that's not in our schedule. How are we supposed to plan for that?
I didn't schedule that in.
but they're also experiences to embrace, right? So what we want to establish today is that even us as, for the most part, type A professional moms, it's okay to accept that there are forces beyond our control that cannot be explained by science. Let's just embrace it, most of it, right? Also, if you've experienced a supernatural occurrence, we don't think you're crazy because we have too. So share with us, please share with us. And also, lastly, we know these events can be a little frightful, but they can also be beautiful. And I think that with the exception of TITT, and maybe one is coming for you, we all have very beautiful stories that are worth sharing, and we'll maybe change the dialogue on ghosts. And how fitting is it that this episode is dropping in October? So put your Halloween shirts on, put your masks on, get your your pumpkin beer, and join us. Also, I want to add, this might be part of the scary part. We recorded this episode months ago, and it was awesome. It was so,
in the dark at night, and I have to say, it was so good, but it was so creepy, and so much came out.
There's a lot. And when we went to upload the episode, it was gone. It was
dun, dun, dun.
gone. And I have heard about experiences being erased before. So that was kind of interesting. Like, for example, my dad told me when he was a teenager, he and his friends are at the beach. They took a big group picture near this beach rock, and they didn't realize that there was a dead body behind this big rock. They noticed that somebody's feet were sticking out. So they're like, oh, that's kind of crazy. And then they went off, and then when they developed the film, that one picture was all white. So there was no picture. It was just a blank. It was the only picture in that film that was on that camera roll that didn't.
Oh, that's creepy.
The universe was like, this is not meant to be seen.
So we're going to make sure that this episode gets documented, that we can share it.
Yes.
We are, yeah. We've recorded 40 episodes at least, I think.
And this has never happened.
It's never happened. It's just one episode happened to be ghost stories, and it was really creepy.
I want your stories. You have the creepy stories of the duendes, but people need to know. People need to know about the duendes. So with that, Isa, why don't you go first? But tell us a good one and a bad one, or a bad one and a good one, whatever order you want to go in.
Okay. Well, I wish I came prepared with a good one, because I really didn't want anything to happen to this episode. It's maybe it disappeared because of me, but
no, that's just me joking. It's probably me too.
I think I'll talk about my first experience with the supernatural, I guess. I'll make it really quick, like two kind of eerie ones. First, when I was really young, I had a cousin that passed away, and our parents put us all at my aunt's house. Bye, Tika. For this. And, they say, or we believe, that spirits visit, they make their rounds. And so, so we were all playing, and all of a sudden the TV goes on by itself, and the fan starts whirling by itself, and we're looking for the most mischievous cousin we had there, and he was like totally with us, and we're like, hey, it's not you, because that was the first place we would live. So yeah, our parents were like, she's making her rounds. And so that was my first experience with like, you know, that this is real. And then, you know, as an adult, I've definitely had, and I was raised Christian. So, you know, I really was like, I went to a private school and we learned about Revelation. So I don't know if you guys are listeners, some of you are Christian, like it's really scary, you know, demonic things are really scary. And so one time I went to, well, my sister-in-law just bought this house by Painted Caves in Santa Barbara. So like up in like a more rural area, I guess, and definitely on Chumash land, which is, you know, Native American land. And every time I would go to sleep there for the first couple of times, I would see this like ominous pilgrim looking type figure, super large, feeling like he wanted to harm me. And so I really just thought, wow, this is probably some kind of, you know, missionary who, you know, the Native Americans had to come up against. Like literally I would see this ominous figure, dark figure in like a pilgrim type attire. I don't know how best to explain that.
Yeah.
Feeling like he wanted to hurt me and having like sleep paralysis, like trying to get up, you know? And so that actually was really crazy. But I know that, you know, I told Jake not to tell his family, but they're really great in energy and belief and faith. And so after, you know, the word was spread, prayers were said, and I can sleep there and have not had a bad experience since. So
Did his mom sage the house? Was there sage?
no, I don't. No, I think Christians are less sagey and more pray-y. It's about having faith. It's about having good energy, doing good. You know, to Jake, it's really like if you're, I don't think it was a testament to me, but he believes if you're not doing like the right things in your life to live your life, you know, as a good, faithful person, you are inviting more of those bad experiences in. I don't think that necessarily was it. I really think it was like the land we were on, whatever was experienced there in the past, just was had never been like, you know, it was never like, we are here and you know, never prayed over, I guess. I don't want to explain the whole process.
We're here and we bring peace and love and we're good people.
You know, you're not welcome here, basically. But on a very good story note, I have like an amazing story and I might cry. My grandma just passed away. She was a month shy of turning 99. And you know, my cousins each have their own experience with, I guess, a visit or a goodbye. But on the day that we buried her, this is very unique probably to her, but after leaving the mortuary or the viewing and on our way to the church, they made a stop at her house that she's lived in since I could even remember since I was born. And they pulled the casket in, and I'm going to show this picture right now. They pulled the casket in.
Oh, I remember this.
They pulled the car in kind of into the driveway. This is her house. And a cross formed in the cloud.
Wow. And that's such a perfect cross too.
I know. That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing about it is nobody noticed. Jake took this picture. This is me right here with my cousin. So we're just looking, they're opening the car door to take her out so she could say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we didn't notice until later that actually happened and was there. Crazy. So I mean, that was such a blessing. I feel like it's like, you know, I'm okay.
Yeah.
Everywhere in the sky and around.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I mean, I just think that was so odd. It is a very clear cross, and it's like clouds that came together to make space. It's not a cloud shaped like a cross. So I think that was such a blessing for everybody to see that day. And Jake took a picture.
Good job,
that's
Jake.
beautiful. That's
I know.
beautiful.
And we weren't gonna drive. We didn't even drive behind the casket like most people followed a procession. We went ahead, and then we were like, okay, let's actually wait for them and just see it happen. And so it was just really like we weren't supposed to be there. And yeah, I mean, nobody else would have gotten that picture if we weren't there in that perspective. Especially with an updated iPhone that can take a panoramic picture.
Yeah.
The stars aligned.
I'm really glad he knows the features. He's always known the features.
Yeah.
As a TMZ
He
producer.
had just upgraded his phone, which is, I'm like, if you had not done this, if we had not done that, like we wouldn't have witnessed this. Like I get to look at that picture and feel like that heaven presence, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great sense of closure.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, yeah, I know you were missing your grandma too. So,
Yeah, that always brings me peace, I guess.
yeah, that's amazing.
Thank you
Thanks for sharing.
You're welcome.
And now with our listeners. Who are
Yeah,
probably
you know what?
crying.
Maybe that was meant to happen, that the other episode got lost because this wasn't in the story, didn't happen.
Yeah,
Mhm.
So,
that's so true.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Isa. Tilo, your stories always get me.
I'm
My
gonna
hairs are standing up already.
I'm gonna start with something that you reminded me of yesterday. Back when I met Dave, my husband, in 2006, we lived on Eddy Street in the Fillmore district of San Francisco in this 3-bedroom apartment. And my room was upstairs. And I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that feeling of like something in the room and sort of like overpowering you. Like there was so many nights where I just got creeped the fuck out. Like I couldn't get up out of my bed even though I wanted to. And that's sort of like, I don't know, maybe that parlayed into me sleeping in Dave's room and the relationship continuing. But it is interesting that
was
was
to put you guys together.
maybe it was a matchmaker.
Evil that brings love.
But it is interesting that, you know, sort of the beginnings of our relationship had some sort of supernatural presence to it, because later on, and this might be a creepy story, but I'll share because it is beautiful in the end. Back in, I can't even actually remember the year. It might've been 2009, 2010. We were back east visiting Dave's mom and his brother, because Dave is from New York. And unfortunately, on Christmas Eve, his brother passed away in his sleep. He died unexpectedly, and we woke up. We were in a downstairs bedroom, and Michael, his brother, was upstairs, and we woke up to his mom screaming because it was the middle of the night and she had found his body, and he was already rigor mortis had already set in. And with people that are of the Buddhist culture, they believe in, I don't know, because I'm not Buddhist, I can't explain this well, but there's chanting that happens that helps them move on to that next phase of their life after they've passed. So there's like hours and hours of chanting. And, you know, after he passed, people immediately came over, there was chanting, and, you know, the body was eventually taken out. So what followed that night as we were trying to go to sleep was the very first, like, you know, first person supernatural experience that I've had. We were trying to sleep. It was the middle of the night and the phone kept ringing. Lights were flickering. And every time we picked up the phone, or Dave picked up the phone, there was nothing but static. It was just this sound, you know? It was like 3 a.m. and the phone kept ringing incessantly, like just would not stop. They'd pick it up, stop, and it ring again. And Dave finally said into the phone, he says, "Hey, Mikey, you know, we know it's you and we know you're okay, and we want you to be okay, and it's okay to let go." And literally after that, there was no more phone calls. Like, it just stopped. And it was like, you know, I think back on it and I'm like, shit, that's crazy. Like, you know, like that we like lived through that. But it was a really crazy experience. And I think for me, it really solidified for me that there is like this bridge into the afterlife. And you mentioned it earlier, Chuk, and I didn't really have a response, but like in Chinese culture, you have these altars depending on what you believe in. And when people pass, in Chinese cultures, there's fruit and there's incense, and you really believe in the sense of like, there is somebody there is somewhere that they go in the afterlife. You're giving them fruit, you're giving them something sweet. You can burn things for them in the afterlife, like mahjong, cars, cell phones, whatever you think that they need in their afterlife. I don't think that's necessarily Buddhist, but that is in the Chinese culture. So I think it was, I think a beautiful experience, just because it did help give closure, not only to like Dave, but like also to Mike and his mom, like that they did kind of get that final last connection, because obviously it was really unexpected when he passed. And recently, something that happened this past Christmas, Dave went out to go grocery shopping for us because he wanted to make a Christmas Eve dinner. And he ended up getting T-boned by somebody. And he was okay, because his car is like a tank. The kids were not in the car, which was fabulous. And it was Christmas Eve, the day that Michael passed. And then when he exchanged information with the person that hit him, that woman had Michael's birthday. It was like it's just so creepy, like the coincidence that happened. But I think it was maybe his way of just being like, hey, I'm here,
like, nice car.
Nice car, bro.
Got your dream car, bro.
But yeah, I mean, like that was a really beautiful thing. And that was like, super supernatural where I've experienced. But separate to that, I don't know if you guys have ever done this, gone to a medium, gone to a fortune teller. My mom, when I was 21, we were about to leave UCLA. I was going into the professional world. She scheduled me this $350 session with this man who only spoke Cantonese. And it ended up being a recorded on cassette tape call. They asked for the time of birth, the day of birth. And he basically had this like pink sheet of ledger sized paper, and he goes through all these like different subjects that he wants to talk about. What's your life going to be like when you're younger? Like, what phase is the best? Are you going to be wealthy? What's the best career for you to have? There's a lot of things that he went through that I didn't understand. And just recently I had my dad translate it into English for me so I could fully understand it. One thing that I left that session knowing was that my mom said to me, she said, he said, if you're going to have a girl, she'll be in between. You'll probably have 2 boys, right? So for the whole of my life, I was like, okay, like if I ever have kids, like, it's possible I might have 2 boys. When my dad translated it for me this past year, the guy, and I don't know why my mom, she could have been saving me from the truth of what he said, or maybe she just didn't understand what he said himself. But the man literally said, be careful when you start having children. You're going to have 3 pregnancies. 1 will not make it. And you'll have 2 live births. And that is exactly what happened. Like before we had Tessa, I had a miscarriage, which you guys know, like was really difficult for me to process just emotionally. And it is just wild to me that he literally verbatim said that. And it was there on this cassette tape all this time. And I didn't know. And I didn't know until just this past year. But yeah, I mean, I have other stuff, but in the interest of time, like I'm going to pass the torch. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed those 2 tidbits.
I think those are like super great stories. And then also it just means we're going to have to do this again.
No, we have so many stories.
Sorry, Tisha.
It's all right.
Maybe teacher will in the future. I don't want to wish that on you. I take it back.
No, I'm open to positive experiences, right?
Yeah. I think so. I was gonna do like one of my scary and then one of my lovely ones, but I think I'm gonna do 2 lovely ones because I think I haven't told you guys about one of them, which is kind of related to the big first one that you guys probably know about because I've told you, and you guys have seen the pictures. And Isa, I will get you some pictures. I had no minutes today. I had no free minutes today. It was insane. Growing up as a little girl, I always loved dogs. I don't know how I did that because my mom is like animal averse, but I always had a fascination with dogs. And finally, I was supposed to get a dog when I was 10, and instead of getting a dog, my mom gave me a book called The Ultimate Dog Book. So when I was like, which is
It's totally the same thing.
as having a dog, right?
Did you walk it?
That's a mischievous thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, I knew about all these different breeds. I can look down the street. That's an Afghan hound. Not that I ever saw one in real life. I have seen one in real life, but like you don't see Afghan hounds like walking down the street. I was so good at like identifying breeds. I knew way too much about like the different breeds. It was, anyways.
What a
There
tease.
came a time in my life, I just thought that during law school, this is the right time because I had been Googling rescue dogs at shelters, like I guess how people would online date. I don't know. But you just like look for like cute dogs, and I saw this cute puppy Rottweiler Lab mix, and it was Riley. You guys know the story of Riley. He was my first dog. I got him when he was like 1-ish, who knows? And he was just like the best goofy dog. And I just had him for 10 years. And when I started dating my now husband, as you all know, Glenn was like in his super bachelor, like he bought expensive clothes and only could worry about himself. But what was redeeming about him was that he was early on in our relationship, he was like, okay, you can bring your dog over. And I was like, oh, okay, sure. And he's like, I just know it's a package deal. And I was like, it totally is. And the first time I brought Riley over to Glenn's apartment, this is when he was like on Santa Monica. Oh, no, in Santa Monica, like on Ocean Boulevard. He always loves to talk about that apartment on Ocean Boulevard in Santa Monica. You always see it in the background of like movie scenes. I don't know. And it is very fun. Anyways, first thing Riley did when he got in the apartment was like sniff around, and Mark Nat and me like went out for lunch, and we didn't bring Riley with us, but it happened to be a windy day. Then Riley like scratched up his door.
Oh God.
It was not a good first introduction. However, by like the third time Riley went over, he won Glenn over with his personality, and Glenn would be like, Riley, get in the bed with me. You get here and cuddle with me right now. It was really cute. Anyway, so Riley also became Glenn's dog, obviously. And like as much as I loved Riley, like Glenn really loved Riley. Like he's my dog. He's mine. I found him. But in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
2016. It was 2016.
2016. Riley passed away, and it was a little bit unexpected. I mean, he was a little older, but it was cancer that had built up. And, with dogs, they usually say, like, once they hide their pain and once it's diagnosed, it's just too late. And that's kind of what happened with Riley. So we lost him in, like, a matter of, like 1.5 days, and you guys were there. Oh my God, that was so traumatic. The poor Riley, and even Isa. I still remember you saw us as we were like right before we put him to sleep at our house in our arms. It was such a sad but kind of beautiful moment. I'm glad we got to be with him. But after that happened, I was sad, but Glenn was so sad. He was so sad.
Yeah.
It was just all sadness all day. And I had to be like, okay, he's happier, he's no longer in pain. But just Glenn took it very hard. And we eventually we had him cremated through one of those services that takes the dog and brings back the ashes in a box. And that happened probably 2 weeks after he was cremated. We got his ashes back, and the idea was to spread his ashes at Dog Beach, because that's where Riley loved to go, in Huntington Beach. And when we got his ashes back, Glenn was just like, I'm going to hold on for a little bit longer. I'm just going to hold on for a little bit longer, and then we'll let him go. So when it was finally the day to go to the beach, it was surreal. I mean, I've never done that, and I'm lucky enough to say that no one that I've been close to has passed away, so I've never really dealt with death. But I mean, until Riley, we spread Riley's ashes at the beach, and then we went to went back home, had the rest of our day, and went to sleep. And it was, I'd say like it felt a little bit lighter, right? There was a little bit of weight taken off. Anyways, I probably 2 days after that, I remember in the morning, Glenn, looking at his phone and smiling, right? And it was because in our house that we were renting at the time, we had a Nest Cam set up to secure our house, right? So we would get notifications if there was movement, right? If someone walked by, he'd get a notification on his phone. So 2 mornings after we spread Riley's ashes at Dog Beach, Glenn is looking at his photo, and he has all these notifications of movement, and he opens the pictures, and we have the snapshots of each moment that there is movement noted. And I want to say, like, from midnight till 5 a.m., there's just, I'm totally using this term, an anomaly, a light anomaly that's just flying around the living room in the areas that Riley used to go. It was like 1 o'clock, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And at 5 a.m., it's that anomaly is like going out the window. You guys will all see this. We'll post the pictures, but it was just
almost like an orb, an aura.
It was the spirit orb, right? And it was, we've never seen anything like that before, because I mean, people ask, was it just dust? Is it just like a car light shining through? And it was nothing like that. And we never had we never had notifications of just like car lights or dust flying through the air. And we believe it was Riley, and it was Riley. There is just nothing else it could be, and it can't be explained by science, right? But it just adds up. And after that, after Glenn saw that, he just got totally lighter. He just was so happy and relieved, and he was like, okay, well now Riley's free and up in the air. Oh gosh, this is going really. I'm gonna say this really quick. My next related story. As I've said, Glenn took Riley's death really, really hard. And he said he would always try to look for Riley in his dreams. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. So Riley passed away, and I also got pregnant that year with Kai. As you guys all know, you guys were like there for all these life events are, associated with big parties. It seems like big parties, big trips. But Glenn said he would always look for Riley in his dreams. And he said the first time that he saw Riley in his dream, they were at Dog Beach. And then, Glenn was interacting with Riley, and he said he was so happy, and he started crying, and his tears were falling. And once it hit Riley on the head, Riley turned into a little boy. And he was like, that boy was Kai. And he's like, that's how I knew we were going to have a boy when I was pregnant with Kai. So
sure. I remember when we were like talking about, what is it going to be? You had that cake party.
Did you know that the story behind it? That it was his dream?
I didn't know that yet.
Yeah. So that's why he was like, he was so sure. And I remember at our gender reveal, like, he's like, all you people are wrong. All the people who tested her, he was, you guys are wrong. And it was funny because when it was Casey, when I was pregnant with Casey, he's like, I have absolutely no idea what this is. No dreams, nothing. So yeah. I'm surprised I haven't told you guys that before. There's just so much going on. Kai's middle name is Riley. Very fitting, right? So Riley is Kai. I mean, that's what Glenn believes, at least. But
I wonder
But yeah.
if at some point Kai will be like, he'll be a little older and you'll be like going like this and he'll be like, are you thinking of Riley or me? And you're like, oh,
Totally
Riley.
we'll talk about Riley all the time, and he asks questions like, "Oh, was Riley nice?" And like, one day we'll tell him that story about how Glenn saw him in his dream and how Riley turned into Kai.
That's
So
beautiful.
yeah,
That's beautiful.
thank you. I was crying. I'm snorting.
Oh.
But for all of our listeners out there, thank you so much for joining us and listening to our experiences of the supernatural. If you guys have had any similar experiences, not that they would be similar, but just, extraordinary experiences, please share, because we want to know and we want to talk about them. We can talk about them forever.
We have more. We have more.
So yeah, we need to have a part 2, right? Part 2 is coming up. There's more to talk about. I have a scary one that's so good that you guys don't know yet. Only Kirsten knows about it. Hi, Kirsten. Okay, so we here at TITT Talks aim to reflect and empower women on subjects that matter most to us, even stories of the supernatural, and also have fun. Be a part of our growing family and get a sense of how we and other women survive and thrive in this world by following us on Instagram at TITT_Talks and getting on our email subscriber list, which is renewed and revamped. Review us on iTunes or email us suggestions at tittalks@gmail.com. You guys can very easily find us on Google. So anyways, thanks, girls. That was really fun. I look forward to the next session. And you, teacher, I'm glad you stayed to the end.
Thank you. And
Go,
thanks for
girl.
making it so joyful, guys.
See you soon.